So let's get started. My name is Catherine Anyaso. I'm the manager of tuition benefits and financials in the Office of Human Resources. I apologize. This is the first time I've done this, so I'm kind of working on this for the first time. So you guys can just bear with me. And let me do something here. Can I move? Yes. Okay. All right. So, can I go? Hopefully you can see my screen. I hope you can. Um, so, goal of this workshop, we're going to talk about the benefit, talk about where to find information, and I'm going to talk about the administrative process and how to use the calculator. Hopefully, I have time at the end, um, and I will be showing um, how to use the calculator. I apologize in advance if there's phones ringing or something because I am in my office doing this webinar. So, but yes, so hopefully I'll be able to show you how to use the calculator. So, eligibility for tuition remission. If you, your legal spouse, or domestic partner, um, this is for you. So you, the employee, need to have worked 4 months full time prior to the last day of late registration for the semester that you are registering for. So in this case, summer of 2020. You need to be a regular full time faculty, a regular full time staff member. To make it easy for you, you need to have been hired by January 17th or earlier. If you were hired after January 17th, you're not eligible for summer 2020. You need to start using the benefit in the fall of 2020. Deadline for patients for the summer semester, May 17th of 2020. At that same deadline, flex work exception applications also due at this time. So, and you also need to be registered for your courses. So everything needs to be done by May 17th. If it is not, your application will be denied. So please pay attention to that. Tuition remission covers 8 credits a semester, 20 credits per academic year. An academic year is fall, spring, summer. So a calendar year, so 2020 is the calendar year. Academic year is fall, spring, summer. So those are two different things, but you have to know both of the difference between the two because the calendar year affects taxation. Academic year affects what's covered. So you can't take courses during your normal work hours unless you have an approved flex work arrangement or the work schedule exception form. The flex work is when you adjust your weekly schedule so that you are still working 35 hours. Um, Work schedule exception is when you are taking that time and charging it to your annual leave. So that's um, that, but there's also more criteria for that work schedule, which is explained on the form. Um, so think about that if you really want to do that. Most people do the flex work arrangement. The tuition remission doesn't cover fees of any type. There is a non-refundable administrative fee of $50. That is every time you use the benefit. So each semester you use the benefit. If you register for a class, if the class is canceled, we will refund that $50. However, if you decide you don't want to take the class, we will not refund it. The class has got to be canceled by the university in order to get a refund administrative fee. Um, Ineligible list is going to be actually it's on the HR site now. We've moved all the information to the HR site. I will show you that. Um, So it tells you we don't cover online programs. We don't cover instructional revenue center programs. We don't cover mini sessions, intersessions, special sessions, internships and co-ops, independent studies, independent readings. Some of you, if you are doing a program, you might have something to come. Please don't register for those in the covered. Register for those in the fall or the spring. So you can find the application on the portal under the personalized links. There's also a link to it on the HR website. So the flex work and the work exception are also on that same page of where the tuition remission application is. So you start the application. Wait, okay. And you will need your AUID. You need to enter that. Your AUID and your student ID are the same. So when you go down here, those two should match. Full-time hire date, if you don't remember the month and give me the closest day you know, and the year. Now I will know it and I will verify it. Um, so yes, so don't so you don't have to worry about that. Just put your date in there. I will verify it, and if it's not incorrect, I will change that. If it is also you're looking for your full-time hire date. If you worked with us part-time and then went full-time, start from when you went full-time. We do not count any part-time work that you did for us. So the process is you enroll in classes, you apply for tuition remission. HR is going to verify your eligibility to use the benefit. Student waiting to post close to when the semester is going to start. But if you got the email saying your tuition remission has been approved, it will be applied. It just might not be applied you might get the bill. You might get a bill, and you don't need to worry about the bill. You just need to pay your fees. Do not worry about the tuition portion up to 8 credits. If you have anything over 8 credits, then you need to pay that out of pocket. Also, on that, if you have or are awarded a merit scholarship from that department that's doing your program, tuition remission hits first. So tuition remission covers up to 8 credits. So if you have a merit award, say like $5,000, tuition remission is going to hit first. So it's going to cut, and you take like 6 credits, your merit scholarship will be canceled for that semester. So it won't even apply. What you can do is you can cap your tuition remission to a certain amount if you want that merit scholarship to cover some of your tuition. But at that point, you would need to email that that's what you want to do. And that for those that are interested or want to know that, just email me. And at the end, I will tell you my email address. You can send it to HR Payroll Help. Particular question, you probably just need directly. So I will give you my email address at the end. Um, right now, it's 3575. So please write that down. Um, to find your student account, when you're on the portal, under Finances, Student Accounts, Eagle Service, Financial Information, and then Student Finance, and that'll show your latest bill and what's been applied. Now, I can't see that information, so tell me with an issue on your billing saying something hasn't been applied or that kind of see your registration statement, but I cannot see your bill. Um, so if you do have an issue with your tuition remission, you do need to contact me and just kind of explain what you're seeing. Certain things you actually have to get worked out with. Like if you're seeing some fees or something, that's you call student accounts about that. You call AU Central. But if tuition remission, then you would contact HR. Okay, so graduate level courses are taxable. Undergraduate level courses are taxable to domestic partners only. Otherwise, they are not taxable. Um, employees, faculty, full-time faculty and full-time staff, every calendar year you get up you get 5250 in tax-free um, tuition. So we subtract that from whatever you've taken for the year. So the first time you use the benefit in a semester, in the calendar year, we apply the 5250. So if you've taken something in spring, 5250 was applied in spring. But if you're starting to use the benefit in summer, it'll be applied in the summer. Um, and then you'll be taxed on the full amount in the fall. So there's that. Okay. So how we apply it, um, if you are biweekly, we apply it over 6 pay periods. If you are monthly, we apply it over 3 pay periods. And so in the summer, we apply it in the months of June, July, and August. So that's when, so those for the first two, so the first pay for biweekly, that first paycheck in June, taxation would be applied. So I know the summer gets a little bit tricky because there's multiple sessions, um, and sometimes you apply for things for later in the this semester for the summer. Just know that if you apply for something for a July start, then you know you're going to have less pay periods that it's going to be applied to. So whatever you're registered for at the beginning of the summer, so in May when the first summer sessions, whatever you're registered for, that's where taxation is going to be applied for to whatever that. I always tell people however many credits you're planning on taking, um, even if you're gonna drop it and swap it out for something else, you want to just go ahead and just make sure you're registered for the amount of credits you're going to take, so that you have all six or all 3 months to for the taxation. Unless you're fine with only spreading it over 3 or 4 pay period, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. Um, but it's it's easier and probably less on your paycheck if you spread it out over the 6 versus 2 or 3. So you want to be registered for the amount of credits you're going to do in the summer in May. Um, so if right now graduate per credit is 1,759. So if you take 2 classes, 3 credits each, your tuition would be 10,554. We would apply, and you won't see that. That's applied on the back end. So we would subtract 5,250 from the 10,554, and your taxable tuition for the semester would be 5,304. Divide 5,304 by 3 or 6, depending on if you're biweekly or monthly, and the totals you see, 884 or 1,768, those would be applied to each of your 3 or 6 paychecks. So it would be 884 each paycheck, and so you would be taxed on your salary plus the 884. So that larger amount, you're going to pay taxes on that. And so, okay. So once you use up the 5,250, then the next semester in the calendar year that you use the benefit, if you take 2 more classes that are 3 credits each, again, your tuition is 10,554, but in because 5,250 is not going to be applied, you are taxed on the 10,554. We would divide the 10,554 by 6 or by 3, and you see what would be added to each paycheck. So June, July, and August, and then you see the months that we do it for spring and for fall, and this doesn't change. These are the months that we apply taxation. Okay, so this is our kind of thing to tell you, or I guess it's a disclaimer kind of, to tell you that, it's going to reduce your net take home pay. And we can't give you tax advice, but we do know this could push you into a higher tax bracket. We can't tell you how it's going to affect your pay. It all depends on how you have your how you set everything up with your W-4, and that's different for everybody. So tax professional could probably help you. To use the calculator, you need to have your earning statement. You need to know the amount your tuition for that semester, and then you just enter that information into the calculator. My tip is that when you using the calculator, do it first without adding tuition to see how close you get to your net pay, so that you'll know how, because you're not going to get an exact. It's going to give you an estimate, so you'll know how close that estimate is when you do add tuition. So it could be off by $50, $100, something like that, up or down. So you need to know that. This is what your earning statement looks like. When you are using tuition remission, if under benefits, you're going to see something that says tuition remission, and it'll say employee or it'll say dependent, depending on, so for the employee, it's for you, for your spouse, or for your domestic partner, it'll say dependent, or both if you're all taking classes. And the calculator is on the same page as the tuition remission application. So you can go under the personalized links and go down and do that. or you can go on to the HR website and go to the link that way. But once you pull up the tuition remission application, on the left-hand side, the calculator comes up. So this is um, the other disclaimer saying that it's an estimate. It just for general guidance. It doesn't really. It's not going to match exactly or precisely, and it's not going to provide tax or legal advice. It's just kind of give you an idea. Really, you're not going to know until that first paycheck, and that's going to give you the actual idea. This is what it's going to look like. Um, it'll say tuition remission application here, but that's what it looks like when it comes up. At the end of the year, you will receive a 1098-T, and you also get your W-2 statements that will include whatever you did in tuition for the year. 1098-Ts come from AU Central, so any questions about those, you contact AU Central. W-2s, you contact HR Payroll Help at american.edu with any questions on those. And you should have your last earnings statement for the year and what's on your W-2, your 1090, all of those numbers should be matching as far as what your tuition was. On your W-2 earnings statement, it's gonna be your tuition. If you did graduate courses, it'll be your tuition minus the 5250. So it may not match the 1098-T, which I believe is just your total tuition. It does not take into account the 5250. And so AU Central, that's how you contact them. Academic calendar, very, very important to know the dates of when you can drop a course for 150 or 25% refund. If you drop after you can get a 25% refund, you will still be taxed on that course. So you want to keep those dates in mind. 100%, that we refund the taxation. 50%, we adjust. 50 and 25%, we're going to adjust it, so you still might be taxed on some, depending on the amount of your taxable tuition for the semester. But you definitely want to keep those dates in mind. Extremely important. If you leave the university in the middle of semester, you need to let us know this so that we can, because we will prorate your tuition remission, and you will be responsible for any tuition that's left over. So keep that in mind. Tuition rates and mandatory fees. There are some mandatory fees that the university has, and they list them here. You cannot waive those fees. So just take a look at that so that you know that those fees are there. If you're pursuing a program and you decide to be at full-time status, so you decide to do 9 credits or more, please don't do more. That's a lot. But if you're doing 9 credits, they will charge you for the student health insurance. That you can get waived if you have insurance with the university. You just need to go onto the Student Health Center site and waive that because full-time students are charged that fee. So, okay. So this is how you would contact. I'm about to show you about where you would find everything, but this is the end of the slides. So this is how you would contact us, HR Payroll Help at american.edu or extension 3836. See, pull up HR website. I tend to just go here and then go to benefits and then education, go to tuition remission. And so all your information is here. And then you can here. Okay. So here's your calculator. And so you would put in the last check date that's on your earning statement. You would pick where you live. So I guess you could pick DC. This is where you would put in the full tuition amount for the semester, the gross pay year to date, and you would choose whether you're biweekly or monthly. And then all of that stays no. Okay. If you were hired in 2020 and you did a W-4, so you would say yes here. Or if you updated your W-4, you would change that to yes, because you need to use those new 2020 tax tables. You would change your filing status, all of this information that's on your earning statement. And some of this stuff like that should pre-fill for you, because who knows about that. This is important. So your deductions. So on your earning statement, you have pre-tax deductions. You have your, I think LTD is an after-tax deduction. And then you have retirement. So you would hit this custom button, and you can just hit it as many times as you need to, but add up all your pre-tax deductions. So that's your medical, parking, FSA. Add those up. Make it a fixed amount. Then federal and FICA need to be yes for that. And then, so that would be your pre-tax. Okay. So then if you did another one, if you did after tax, whatever the amount is, fixed amount, everything stays no for that one. Then you put in retirement. And put in yes for federal. Everything else stays no. And then you would calculate it, and, well, I don't know what it's going to say, so let's just put something in here. Where is, I don't know. Let's make something up. Okay. I got it. Okay. Oh, wait. I think. weekly. Why not? I don't care. Say you have nothing pre-tax. We're just gonna say 300, and we're gonna say $25, and for retirement, 500. Okay. So this is what it is without putting in tuition, and I mean, I made up some numbers, but that's your net pay. So whatever numbers you put in there, look at this net pay, look at what your actual net pay is, do some subtraction, and that's how close your estimate is going to be. If I put tuition in there, let's put in the 5304 and calculate. Okay, so your net pay used to be about $1,900, a little over $1,900. Um, put in that 5304, it took you down to 1578. So that is kind of what the jump is for this person if they were making this type of money. Let me change it to if you were fully taxed uh, on the full amount versus if you took out the 5250. That's what it would be. So pay attention to that, and because that's kind of what it's an estimate, but that is kind of what your net pay starts to look like when you get it back. When tuition remission taxation is added to your payroll, to your paycheck, excuse me. Um, when you do the app, okay, wait, work exception form is a paper form, so you would just fill that out. Your advisor has to do a letter. Your supervisor has to sign it. The university authorized official, which is usually the dean or the VP of your over your department, has to sign it, and then you would send that over to HR. Flex work is online, so that you don't have to, but it's still supervisor has to approve it, and then the dean or the VP, it goes by email once you complete it, it goes to your supervisor. Your supervisor should get an email so they can complete it or approve it, and then it goes to the dean or the VP to approve it, and then once they do that, it comes to HR. Here is the list of ineligible programs, which is usually most of the online programs, all of the non-credit programs, which are a lot of the specs programs. Um, and then that's just some information on the taxation, but it's information I just gave you. Application. So all these things, we tell you all these things, and then you say, I've read it, you agree to it. You then have to check all of these things um, in order, because you can't move on until you check it. So you have to check all of those things. Very important. And you have to say yes or no. And next. Okay. And then you fill out AUID hire date. Same, AUID is the same semester. Please make sure you choose the correct semester and the correct year. And then you can choose whether you're monthly, biweekly, if you're faculty, if this is going to be for a spouse or domestic partner. Um, do not abbreviate what program you're in, please write it out fully. And then if you need to do the work exception, now remember, we are checking your registration statement, so we can tell from the class if it's occurring during your work hours. So please just go ahead and say yes, because we will not approve your application until we get the flex work form. So if you're taking something during your work hours, and if the class is like an hour and 15 or 20 minutes, you still have to do the flex work because lunch breaks are an hour. So you have to account for that 15 minutes. And so saying, oh, I was just going to do my lunch break. Yeah, no, you have to do it. It's just a requirement. And I know it's a lot, but we require it, and we will not approve your application if you don't do it. So to avoid that, you can not take classes during your business hours, but your work hours. However, some of the classes you may not have a choice, especially if you're in a program that might be the only time the class is happening, and it's happening during your work hours. So please just do the form. Talk to your supervisor, kind of get it okay ahead of time so that you can just, get it approved and go on with taking your class. So once you fill all that out, you preview it, and then you submit it, and it comes to HR. And that is what that looks like. Let me take that off. Okay. So let me see. Wait, questions? I can't see any. Okay. All right. So that's all I have. So if you have questions, oh, yes, my email is canyaso at american.edu. Catherine Anyaso. I should pop up. If you go onto Outlook, it should just kind of pop up. So if you have questions, you can send me an email directly, or you can just send it to hrpayrollhelp at american.edu. My extension is 3575. The other extension for HR Payroll Help is 3836 to get to the benefits team. Other than that, that's all I have. There are I have put the slides on here. I will be sending out a follow-up email, which should have the video, I believe. And the handouts should be on that as well. So please get the handouts, which is a PDF of the slides and a PDF, which is just an overview of how the benefit works and all the things, because it is a lot of information. But other than that, thank you for joining. And like I said, if you have questions, feel free to get in touch. So everybody, I give you back your time. Have a